What's up, everybody? I'm Charlie Savage, and I'm here today with my co-host Ethan Odenthal, and we're gonna be talking about some more Star Wars stuff. Today's episode of Outer Rim Radio is about the original trilogy, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Same format that we did the prequels in. So, before we get into that, let's talk about the news.
Yeah, not too much in terms of news. It's been kind of sporadic lately. We've got weeks where they're just dropping a bunch on us. As of recently, it's mostly been a lot of just like rumors and dramas and drama in terms of Star Wars news. I don't think we're really going to address that kind of stuff because it's not really something we want to talk about. But there
Especially
is
if it's not like really super relevant.
Exactly. If it's not relevant to story, new things coming out, it's not something we're really interested in addressing because it doesn't really change what's going to happen to us in the future. So,
Exactly.
some new things were announced though that were kind of cool. So, there's going to be a new Star Wars Myths and Fables, which is basically just they released some short stories on StarWars.com and on their blog, just kind of going through different parts of the universe. And it's just some small bits of world building that's really cool. So this next one is going to be about Life Day, which is pretty much the most major holiday in
Yeah.
all of Star Wars. I mean, it is what the Star Wars Christmas special was based off of, which never watched because that's a monstrosity, but that's a whole nother thing in itself. Probably an
But
episode
the
we'll do
Lego Christmas
eventually,
special
but
is good.
the Lego Christmas special is true, which is weird to say. I mean, all the Lego Star Wars.
It's so good. It low key kind of like somewhat continues canon because it just like confirms that Rey is going to train Finn, which I love. So
Yeah, and I hope, like, I would love to see that, which is a whole nother conversation for when we do the same format for the sequels. But,
yeah,
that's something I'm hopeful for. If you want to, you can pull up the image if you want, Charlie. There's no need if you don't want to, but we did also get some behind the scenes photos of the set of Andor, and this is in I can't remember where, but it is in the UK. They're shooting this. It's basically just some behind the scenes shots of the set that they're using right now. There's been a lot of speculation as to what this actually is. They gave some exclusive photos to Bestman Bulletin, which is another like podcast and blog about Star Wars.
okay, yeah. Because oh shoot, what was there was something else they did? Did we bring it up last week or 2 weeks ago?
They were the big one who stirred the pot with like, oh, there's going to be another KOTOR game.
That's what
And
it was.
they
Oh wait,
came
we
out and
didn't
said,
talk
like,
about that last week because that was in between.
okay, well, I'll touch on that in a second. Let's finish this one and then I'll
Yeah,
address it because I've read everything on that, so I can address that. So basically, what is happening with Andor is these are set designs. So it kind of looks almost Tatooine-ish or Naboo-esque and that kind of construction style that we see in those places of Star Wars. We don't really know. There's some green screens, but we just kind of got these photos, which is cool because we know, hey, something's happening. As it
right.
pertains to their KOTOR news, they basically said, hey, I've heard from someone outside of EA, outside of the developers, that they're going to be pulling this up. They're going to be
Yeah,
working on another KOTOR game. Essentially, it wasn't said like, oh,
yeah,
when's this set? When's this going to be? What is this? It was just like, hey, this is going on. And it all kind of got blown out of proportion to the point where the people at Bestman Studio had to release a statement being like, hey, we just heard this.
right.
We're just saying. We're
And
not
then
saying
Jason
this is
Schreier, who
confirmed.
used to work at Kotaku, now works for Bloomberg. Actually, confirmed it,
Right.
and he was basically like, "You'll never guess what it is, or like who's working on it." Which
Yeah, I think we did talk about that, but I'm not really sure.
I mean, we could sit here and speculate of every dev under the sun, but that's a bit much.
Yeah, that's not really fun.
Yeah,
Because then we'll just be wrong about half of it. So
exactly. So
um,
we'll wait.
yeah. And then the only other thing that was really announced, and actually Charlie was the one who told me about this one. So the new Disney Plus series Andor won't include K2SO. Alan Tudyk confirmed that, and that's at least for like the first episode, first season.
Yeah,
Um,
which we still don't even know how many episodes a season is. Assuming it's
yeah,
Mandalorian, it's like 8 probably.
and that's all based on the writing team because
Yeah,
th- saying it a season in a show. I mean, if you watch Netflix, sure, like that can mean one thing because they're just going to release that out. You can have something that's 8 episodes or 20, but when they're actually like doing weekly releases, all this stuff, that's kind of been their format.
Exactly.
It's not going to be, it's not good, probably not going to be a 30 episode, a 20 episode, or even a 10. So
Right.
I would keep your expectations small on that one. But
Yeah. And the only, I guess, like we know like Kenobi is a limited series and then Andor is not. So it's kind of one of those things that if it keeps going, I'll probably get more seasons. Although I
yeah,
imagine they have an end in sight. So,
yeah, I mean, that's what I intend to see. I mean, these are some of the creative directors from everything that's kind of booming right now.
right.
And as we'll talk about, one of Star Wars' biggest issues has not being they're not able to rein themselves in sometimes, and that's kind of really what we've seen lately. It was like, nope, limited series. We're only doing this for a couple episodes, which is really promising. And I
Yeah.
think Andor will do really well because they have a limit as to what they can do,
Right.
and that's just always something you want from a creative process. But yeah, that's pretty much all we have for news. So
Yeah. All right. So, well, then let's get right into our main topic for this week. But before we do that, actually, I want to shout out T Rex Harris or Terrell Harris. He's the guy that made our logo, and I just wanted to say thank you to him. And if I'll link to his stuff in the bio down below. So if you do want to commission anything, really love this logo. We actually got merch of it. It's up now on Redbubble. But if you want to do that, I'll link it all down below. So
yeah, seriously, go check this guy out. His stuff is super impressive.
I love it. And then let's start it off. You want to kick it off for us, bud?
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the original trilogy. So obviously we're talking about 3 movies, so we're not gonna go super in depth. Although I would love to way in the future do a super analysis video because I'm just that kind of person.
Yeah.
When I watch a movie, I sit down and I'm really thinking, and I pause it. My girlfriend talk and I talk about it, but we're just two writing nerds. We're just nerds. That's
Yeah.
essentially what it is. So I'm gonna kind of take my own spin on this, and I'm gonna do every movie in each category working down the list. I'm not going to do each movie separately because I think we're talking about this as a holistic series anyway. So
Yeah, we're talking about it as a trilogy and how they connect.
I just want to talk about, we're going to start with the good first. And I want to talk about overall, what are the good things in Star Wars? And when we say good, it's kind of the bad thing about this format is like, I think the
Everything
original
is
trilogy
good.
should be the beautiful, the good, and the subpar.
Yeah.
Not the good, bad, the ugly. There are some ugly things, don't get me wrong,
but yeah.
we're gonna emphasize that. So first thing, man, when I watch the original trilogy, especially A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, dude, I want to be a Jedi.
Yeah,
I
it
just want to
really
be right there in the action.
yeah. It builds I like how they build up the lore, especially with the original Obi-Wan. I feel like that line of like they were the guardians of peace for thousands of generations, like that really like kind of sets the tone for the entire time of him learning to become a Jedi. And it feels so natural and like such a good way for like Luke to actually learn about the Jedi in the past. But he's not hearing of like, oh, this is how the Republic fell. Here's how this happened. It's just like, oh yeah, I was in the Clone Wars, like this thing that happened, like as kind of how people treat history now. It's like, oh, you were in this war or whatever. So yeah.
I 100% agree. I it's something I'm gonna get into, especially with the New Hope, because I mean Alec Guinness's old Ben, it's pretty centralized to that, but I think you hit it right on the head. It really paints a picture of what the Jedi are supposed to be and what we're supposed to feel about them, despite this having the least amount of Jedi.
Yeah.
There
Like
is only 3 Jedi in the entire trilogy.
yeah.
Like I I really can't get across how impressive it is. Without their portrayal, we wouldn't have the Jedi we have now, and that's something we'll get into in a second.
Yeah, and
So
it's
yeah,
like they're not
it really
like they're not like even like the same like when you see them. Like they don't all act the same. They are kind of varied. Like Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Luke are all very distinct, even in terms of personality, their approach. But they have like underlying themes basically throughout the story, which I really love.
yeah, absolutely. So another thing I'm gonna nerd out about a little bit. So I love music. I am a musician. music in film is one of my favorite things. I constantly am listening to soundtracks, and when I'm writing, you better bet there's at least one John Williams track
At all
in there.
times.
The music at all times. Usually it's from the prequels, like the prequels or the sequels, because not the sequels, the original trilogy. Gosh, the music is so phenomenal.
Yeah.
I am of the opinion that without John Williams' score, these movies would not exist in the space and society that they are in our culture.
Agreed.
They music is just as iconic as some of the characters, and that is impressive.
Yeah,
Not
and
many composers can pull that off.
yeah, and the music can like evoke like like characters literally have certain themes. Like the fact that like you can hear
Yeah,
a
they have
song and like
motifs.
you start thinking of like different places and different characters is like so important.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna get into that because that's like I have a whole point about Darth Vader and his changing modes, his changing sound and music. Oh,
Yeah.
whole big thing, whole big thing. This is just my general stuff, and kind of in the sound department, dude. The sound design. Sometimes I don't even like the prequels or the sequels sound design compared to the original trilogy. They were working with less, and I think they made more. I mean, the
Yeah.
lightsabers, it's they don't sound over the top like you're splashing fire and energy over that. And maybe that's what you want, but the simpleness of the sound of the lightsabers makes them sound so elegant. I mean, Darth Vader's breathing is iconic. You hear that
Yeah.
in your head. You could be half asleep and you hear that, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, Darth Vader."
Bitter.
The thing that is the most impressive, though, and we had a conversation about this last night, my girlfriend and I, for Star Wars to take gibberish made up languages, make their own little alien languages or just sound bites and make them feel so inhuman, like they weren't even created for us to like, oh yeah, this is what an alien language should sound like.
Yeah.
Best example is when Leia is in the bounty hunter mask in Return of the Jedi and
Yeah.
talking.
This is actually something I wanted to talk about.
It sounds like an alien. You would be like, if an alien came down to Earth and talked like that, that would be believable. It's
Right?
not some little chirps and stuff like that. It is a changing language, doesn't operate in the same way our vocal cords operate. It's just so cool. It just feels alien, and that's what
Yeah.
you need in a sci-fi.
Like I really love that part. Although my entire time, just because I've seen the movie so many times, I was like, I never like really thought about it. I was like, she ever like they never go into how she bothered like learning another language like that, I guess, or like it just sounds completely alien now that like
Yeah, I mean, they kind of address it in no longer canon sources right now, where it's
gotcha.
like, well, not that specifically, but like you can wear a mask with a vocalator or a
Yeah,
translator in it,
and
which is like you
we've
speak.
seen
And
like during the like the box arc or like the where Obi-Wan fakes his death arc that they put in like a voice modulator. So having that in a mask wouldn't really be too
no,
concerning or anything.
no, but
So
it's just a cool thing that I was really never thought about how much that's important to the immersiveness of the film.
right.
This is a really controversial one for me. And Charlie, you can be angry if you want. I consider the costuming in the original trilogy to be better than any other movie we've seen. I
Hmm.
think that when I look at these things, and maybe it's nostalgia lens, maybe it's that this feels different. It feels it feels different enough, but it's like, yes, this is what military officers would wear. This is what
Yeah,
pilots would wear.
I'd
But
agree with that.
and sometimes I feel like, and it might just be with the lack of Jedi, and we're seeing a lot of soldiers and a lot of people wearing the same uniforms. So when you
Yeah,
have those variations, it makes sense. Because like with the Jedi, they can wear 80 different types of robes, and they
yeah,
all look silly in the sequels. And I don't know. I felt that the costuming was very believable in this,
yeah,
which I don't know. Might be
yeah.
nostalgia, but
Like I think you can see it. Like they have different gear for when they're in Hoth than when they're on Endor. Like militaries operate versus like I mean I guess stormtroopers and the Republic basically did that for the most part, where they're almost entirely wearing all white at all times for some reason, except
yeah,
for like that one squadron that just wears like camo because you know
yeah. I mean, sometimes
the chic.
that was the cool thing about the clones is they could just throw whatever armor on them.
Right.
Okay, now they have black armor, but like for this, they felt like soldiers. Like these felt like guys fighting and putting lives on the line, and there was
Yeah.
enough variation in them.
Like the
But
rebellion feels very grounded. Like it just feels
absolutely,
formally military. Like they don't wear like they don't feel like kind of like dehumanized in like a sense like that like clones and stormtroopers do with their helmets. They
Mhm.
just look like they're normal military. They're wearing just basically helmets. Hope I don't get shot. Hopefully, if it does, it bounces off or stops the bolt or whatever.
Yeah, and I think a good example is like Rogue One. Their costuming is so different in that they really do feel like, yeah, this is a guerrilla warfare, not like the rebels we see in the original trilogy, where it is like
Yeah,
this is just an organized military. Like, no, these are like this is like some Vietnam guerrilla warfare, jumping out of the bush, like attacking
yeah,
people in cities, like some basically terrorism stuff.
yeah. Like it, and what I love about that, well, specifically in like Rogue One, even though that's not part of the trilogy, is like it is. It kind of shows kind of the growth in the rebellion of becoming a more organized military force. Whereas like there'd be almost no reason for someone like Baze or whatever to be like kind of dressed like that in by the time episode 6 happens, you know?
Exactly, exactly.
Like everyone's all in uniform, they're all planned out, they're well more equipped, they know what they're doing. Also, random thing I just tried to pay attention to was the guy that they speculate is Rex uh in
I was just
episode
in
6.
Return of the Jet. Yeah, I was just talking about this with my girlfriend, and I was like, "That's so cool to
Yeah.
think about." Oh,
And what I love is there's like one part where I think he helps out Han Solo and he just like flips the stormtrooper over his back or whatever.
yeah, that was so cool.
I was like, I love this.
makes
It
makes
makes
no
it just
sense.
that much better. It's like one of those things.
Yeah, and that's what I like about Star Wars is building on what you already have.
Yeah.
So a couple more things in my overall, then we'll kind of get into the specific movies themselves. Um, one of the things I like about the original trilogy the most is the characterization.
Right.
I don't really think there's any characters who just fall flat, and
I'd agree.
that that is the biggest problem with the prequels and the sequels is you have characters who are either wasted or just fall flat and they don't get across what they want to get across or they just don't age well. I
Right.
mean, Jar Jar Binks, you can throw that around all day. Um, he's supposed to be funny and slapstick, but he might start to anger you. You may have never liked him. I don't really think there's a character like that. The characters you are
No.
supposed to like in this movie, in these movies, you're supposed to like them, you end up loving them. The
Yeah.
character you're supposed to hate, you hate them so much you want to see them on the screen. You're like, kill this guy, get rid of this guy. You might
Yeah.
not like Jabba, but he's such a vile creature that when he's on the screen, you're like, fight him, get rid
Yeah.
of him, betray him. When Palpatine's on the screen, you're like, oh my gosh. When Vader's on the screen, you always want Vader on the screen in Star Wars. That's why it does so well.
Right.
It had a characterization that no other Star Wars film has pulled off, maybe other than Rogue One. I think Rogue One did characterization the best, but that's also
Yeah.
one movie. And this
Yeah.
did it across 3 movies consistently, which I think is
Yeah.
more impressive.
Like you never feel tired of any of the characters. Like I'm not like, ah, shoot, there's more Han Solo or oh no, there's more Luke. Like it feels like it actually does like the casting feels very balanced between all the characters, which I really appreciate.
No, I 100% agree.
Like
So this is going to be my last one in terms of like overall for good, and this is just a characterization thing. And I'm mostly saying this because I think it's the person who is lost the most to history in Star Wars. David Prowse or Prose, I think pretty sure it's Prowse. He's the actor for Darth Vader. He is the physical actor. He was in the
yeah.
suit. James Earl Jones gets a lot of credit for his voice. And don't get me wrong, James Earl Jones is a fantastic voice actor, a fantastic actor. Everything he's been in is great.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Even the Arby's commercials he makes better.
True. Is that actually him?
Yeah.
No, you're kidding me.
I'm like,
Are you seriously?
yeah.
It's not James Earl Jones.
It's not?
No. It does sound like him.
I've been lied to. I was just told it was, and I was like, I believe it.
Is this is saying it's Ving Rhames?
I don't know who that is.
Really? He's been in a lot. He's actually he was in like Pulp Fiction, Mission Impossible,
I don't
Ground
watch enough
Zero, Chuck and
movies.
Larry. Yeah, he's a very
Okay, I've
90s
seen
guy.
him before. Okay.
Yeah. I can see where you're saying that though. They do have a very similar voice. That
Yeah,
very like
I was just lied to. Don't worry.
it's okay. It's not your
I
fault.
tried to
This is
make a
why we
joke
fact
that's
check
based
things.
off a lie. Sad
Sorry.
times.
This is why we
Exposed.
fact check. Exposed. Get exposed. Anyways, back to what I was saying.
Exposed.
I really think it's the mannerisms that sell Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And David Prowse did a great job building his character in that way. Now, if you look up what his voice sounded like in the original takes before they dubbed over with James Earl Jones, it's hilarious. His quote unquote space accent. Go look it up. Look up David Prowse. Darth Vader's
I've
voice.
seen it.
It's comical. It's hilarious. But anyways, just from his walk to his aggressive combat style to how he force chokes people, it's all very in your face, aggressive.
Yeah.
Everything is menacing about him. One movement and you're scared. Anytime he's doing something on the screen, you're scared. I mean, but then suddenly, over the course of these three movies, at the end of Return of the Jedi, this character who has always seemed so menacing and sure of himself and his mannerism, he suddenly starts moving lightly and unsure. And one of the scenes that is the most powerful in my mind is just when he's looking back and forth between Palpatine and his son being electrocuted on the ground. And I say his son because he's not looking at him as Luke as that moment. He just keeps looking back and forth, and you can really feel he's conflicted and he's unsure of his actions, and he's really starting to feel a light. And it's that point that I truly consider, one, because of his music, which I'm going to get into in a little bit, that he moves to the light side because he starts moving gentle and fatherly.
Yep.
And then at the end, when he dies, he's moving so soft when he was such a harsh character.
Exactly.
David Prowse, like, rest in peace, but wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I just wanted to put that across because, I mean, they edited him out and so when they did the special version after the prequels, and he's no longer appears in Star Wars. I mean, the guy died in 2020, and most kids, if they go back and watch those, will never know that he was in.
Yeah.
You saw his face.
And and although I do want to say that it's something that the movies do really well, is that because of that, there's like when you're watching those movies, it feels like that is the voice of that character. Like it doesn't feel like it feels very cohesive. It doesn't feel like it's separated. It doesn't feel dubbed.
Yeah, they absolutely, for the way he moved, they needed James Earl Jones's voice like 1,000%. I 100% am with that. So I just wish he got more credit.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the good things about the New Hope, and obviously you can add in at any point, Charlie. Do you have any points about like the overall, or do you think we're kind of hitting everything?
Actually, one little thing I wanted to add, which I yeeted down at the bottom. I just love how, and this is across all the movies that they do it, but specifically 5 and 6, they just like, it kind of touched on this about how they just kind of talked about like the Clone Wars is like just kind of a thing that happened, but they do that with like planets, and it makes feel like the characters have like just known each other. They know what everyone's always doing. So like when they talk about battles or different instances on different planets, like it's something that just makes the world feel lived in. Like it's just like dialogue that feels natural.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, that's how you should build a world. And that's the thing that I think you're saying that is so important. Like they just mention these places that exist. And then years later, decades later, we come back and it's like, okay, this got mentioned here. Let's build off of that. Let's connect. And it sounds so cool to us because we look back and like, oh, that's where that came from. But to them, when they were writing it, it was just like, hey, let's ground them in the world and make them feel like they don't exist in a void.
Yeah, it's like when Tarkin's asking Leia where the rebel base is, and then she throws up Dantooine. You know? And it's like, then you get all that like KOTOR stuff of Dantooine. And it gets mentioned in High Republic, and it's like,
yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It's just it gives them the opportunity to say, okay, this may not have mattered at the time, but it is important.
Yeah, and it's like there's like there's that battle that Lando mentions, which then also Bill Burr's character mentions in The Mandalorian at that battle, but he Tanab, but he pronounces it super weird.
Yeah,
And
well,
then like uh Han mentions, "Oh boy, become famous." And then Han
that's not.
mentions like whenever he talks with Chewbacca, they just kind of reference like things that they've done like back on other planets or whatever, which is like something I just love because it's like it's
Yeah,
basically
absolutely.
talking shit with your friend and you're just like, "Oh, remember that?" Like it's just
Yeah,
done
which
so well.
it does, especially when they're both like him and yeah, Biggs,
Yeah.
because they're both not Biggs. They're both Corellians. What's his name? Other fighter pilot Han knew.
What other fighter pilot for what?
The Rebel fighter pilot. He's really famous. He's a Corellian. Same
Uh
same planet
there's
as
Biggs,
Bond.
there's Wedge.
Wedge. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wedge Antilles. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was blanking.
No, no
But yeah,
worry.
I totally agree. I
Also,
totally agree with
at
that.
the end of episode 6, the character is like has such a very small part in those movies. But I love in episode 3 they give him like a little bit, and then he just gets an entire extended shot at the end of episode 6, which is really funny.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
was like, he is getting an odd amount of screen time for how little we've seen of him, which is
Seriously.
cool. But
Yeah, I mean it's cool in some ways. So you good to move on to
yeah,
A New Hope?
yeah,
Sorry, you had a coffee burp there for a second, which is pretty gross, but
no,
whatever. So this is where I'm going to get into my writer brain for a little bit. The use of mythic structure, which I'll kind of explain what that is so well utilized in this film, and it not only creates this wonderful plot, but it really it slowly shows us a world in a way that feels natural. So the mythic structure, it's most people know it in writing as the hero's journey.
yeah,
And this is like, if you think of the Lord of the Rings, you think Star Wars, you think Harry Potter. This is what all these major fantasies are built off of. You've got a character, they get called to adventure, they get some sort of aid, they go from this threshold into this supernatural world, and they have these challenges and temptations.
yeah,
They reach this point where they're being challenged, and then they have this gift. It's just all about this circular journey until they return home.
yeah,
Um, and we know for a fact that this is what the structure is based off of because George
yeah,
Lucas has told us countless times. He was super close, well, not close friends, but like in the end of um, Joseph Campbell's life, he spoke with George Lucas, spoke with him, and he was like, "I really like this," and he credits it as his writing. This is everything he uses to write. So
yeah,
Luke starts out in this small, unremarkable place, and we're dropped into a universe that is literally a galaxy. It is massive, a
yep,
massive place. But because he grounds you immediately in this small world, not immediately, but he grounds Luke in this small world. This is our character right here. And when he slowly is ready to leave the normal world, the galaxy becomes expansive
yeah,
and magical. I mean, it's
yeah,
so I just really enjoy the plot structure of it because he really pays homage not only to like this is supposed to feel like a myth, which is what it's all based off of, but it just really allows Luke to feel grounded in the fact that like why would he want to leave? Why would
right,
he want to be a part of this? It's because so much has happened. You see his how boring his life is
yeah,
before, and then it gets torn apart.
yeah. Actually, J.J. Abrams has a TED talk about uh, A New Hope specifically, which I had to watch in like an English class in college. But he talks about it like the pacing and basically how you starting the hero's journey is basically what he calls is the like it's like opening a box and there's another box in it, and it just
Mhm.
gets you deeper and deeper into the world essentially. So we start like you start off with Luke. He's
The
just
mystery
like
box.
yeah, and then well you learn more about him, and then like then they mention Ben. Well, who's Ben? And it keeps giving you more and more questions, and it
Yeah,
kind of helps the viewer's suspension of disbelief as you go on, which is like what it
exactly.
does really well.
It's
So
what you
it's
need in
like
a fantasy.
yeah, and it does it so like the pacing at the beginning of like episode 4 of the entire time on Tatooine, it almost never feels like it doesn't feel too supernatural or like and it
No,
like it feels very grounded in its own universe. Like the world feels lived in, which is something like with like just the set design, like everything to them seems normal, and it just comes across that way.
Yeah, and you're just slowly
Yeah.
fed information in a
And I think
way
it
that just
helps that
keeps you
like
moving.
especially in that like time period in like the late 70s, there's a lot more people that are familiar with like people living out on farms, and Luke's just like your typical farm boy protagonist essentially. So it makes the character very relatable to like a large audience of people. Like he's a guy that's working on a farm that's basically fresh out of high school, wants to go to what is essentially viewed as college, which is the academy, but not really, but you know. So it's basically like they make it very relatable and grounded and like kind of parallel to our understanding of like life.
Absolutely. Yep.
So just doing that, and then like the first thing that seems like then like I guess like supernatural is like the lightsaber, and you're like, okay, well it's basically a sword for these people. And then you're like, all right, and then like then it's like the Jedi mind trick is like the next one, and you're like, well, there's something to this character. What's that about? Why can he do this, and why can no one else? And then it
Slowly
eases
feeding it
you
to you.
into the understanding of the Force.
Yeah, and it's building off a foundation, and that's the thing I found the most impressive about the original trilogy is if you even go into this with skepticism, at every point it's giving you what you need before you know you need it.
Exactly.
When you would start to ask a question about why does this exist, you already got this information before.
Yeah.
And it's just very grounded. So it's just good to talk about that. And we don't have to talk about this for every movie because that is the structure that they all go off of.
Right.
And that's the structure of the plot overall. But it's just so important to realize like that's what helps Star Wars build. That's why like people are so into the universe because we don't ask questions because we are like, well, obviously it's this because it's how we
Right.
were fed information. So, um, kind of going to the theme of plotting, I really just think the New Hope, a New Hope, not the New Hope, a New Hope as probably one of the best openings in
Yeah.
all of science fantasy, science fiction, because you go from this text crawl, which I don't really like text crawls. I think it's weak, but you get this falling shot, establishing the vastness of space. You've got these different planets, and you're like, okay, what's going on? You've got this very mysterious music, and then all of a sudden, ships are firing on each other. Actually, one
Yep.
ship's just flying on one, and one's trying to escape. And then you're immediately put into the action, and so much happens for a couple minutes without any dialogue. There's people
Yeah.
shooting at each other. There's people running around. The very first line of dialogue you get is from C-3PO, and he says, "We're doomed."
Right.
Talk about pacing.
Yeah.
You're put into the action. You're establishing the world. You get all of this, and then after all this is done, all of a sudden we're on Tatooine and we're dealing with this boring kid. And you're like, okay, I like this guy, but what just happened?
Happened. Yeah.
Let's get back to that. And you're like, okay, wait, you'll get there. And
Yeah.
it just really establishes it. And you're like, okay, I gotta find out.
Yeah.
I just love the opening of A New Hope. It's if
Not to mention how good like that shot actually is too. Like that is like just one of the best shots,
yeah,
which is something I do want to talk about another time. But I love Star Wars is really good at opening shots.
yeah, seriously, I think every Star Wars movie pretty much opens
Yeah.
nearly perfectly for what
Actually,
they're doing. So
quick question: what's your favorite opening shot of all the Star Wars?
this one,
Is it okay?
I would. I
Mine's
just think it's the
Episode
most
3 has my
impressive.
favorite because it's like just two ships going by another giant ship. They turn down and it's all battle. That's what.
Yeah, that is true. Let me see. What's the Return of the Jedi? I'm trying to think right now. And I watched this one delayed. Which one is it?
It's the one. It's kind of
Oh
fun.
yeah. Okay, Return of the Jedi is like it's slow because you get the droids, but
Yeah.
I like it overall. We'll keep on A New Hope and we'll talk about some other things. So we have a lot of good. Charlie and I really like this. If
Yeah.
you haven't still, we really like the original.
Yeah.
But
I
I just
really.
think
Yeah.
we're just pointing out stuff that I don't think is usually talked about because we went into the lens of watching this. We're like, why do we like this?
Yeah.
Why
Why
is
do
this
I love
impressive?
this so much?
Why do I watch other Star Wars content or read other Star Wars content? And I'm like, man, I just want to go watch the original
Trilogy.
trilogy. um, one of the things I kind of want to keep, I'm bouncing around my notes here because I want to kind of keep with our flow here. Speaking of evocative shots, um, Binary Sunset, which is, if you can kind of look on our logo, that's what we have there. To me and Charlie, that is Star Wars in itself. To
Yep.
me, it is the most evocative shot in all of cinema. And if it's not to you and you don't think it's that impressive and you've seen better, whatever, it's definitely the most evocative shot in all of Star Wars. Every time he steps out, I've watched this movie so many times. Every time he steps out to look out at that Tatooine binary sunset, the colors begin to change. The music swells. He's walking slowly and staring off over the horizon. It just stirs this raw emotion in me that very few movies are able to.
Agreed.
And for a moment, you're just feeling everything you're supposed to. Everything Luke is feeling at that moment, you get. You want to go off into that great unknown. You're tired of your life here. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I watch this and I just pause the movie and I go, pardon my language, I'm just like, I want to be a Jedi, man. Get me out of here. I want to be there in the thick of it.
Yeah. Like it gives this great sense of adventure, like a looming future awaits. Like it's so good.
Exactly. And that is the thing. It's so grounded in Star Wars. And yet it's never really explained. But why every time we see the binary sunset, we're not seeing it over someone's shoulder. We're seeing someone looking out into it. And it's our main character. Because it's always about adventure.
Yeah.
And that was the thing I love about the original trilogy. It's really just about adventure. And you get that feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, just stirs some shit in me, you know what I mean?
Right.
All right, let's move off of that. Because I could talk about that for an entire episode.
But I know you can.
Which to me that's my drop dead gorgeous category. That's not even good. That's the best.
I would agree. It's probably the best, if not one of the best moments in cinema. Even like the Family Guy parody was just like
still good.
Yeah, like they were like, this is the best scene in the parody of Star Wars. Like they did that, and then the guy just goes, "All right, everybody, John Williams Orchestra."
Yeah. Oh man.
But like, yes, this shot is so perfect. We're not even gonna make fun of it.
I'm gonna talk about Alec Guinness. Going back to old guys I really like who don't get enough credit.
Agreed.
Old Ben is, as we talked about, he's the founding characterization of all Jedi. This is what you want every Jedi to be like. He's the perfect Jedi. Seriously, watch the movie and think about his lines. When he says stuff, just think about it how you would see it in a modern film.
Yeah.
Everything he says can be so quickly attributed to be like, that would fall flat. That would be so campy and cheesy if anyone else said that. But Guinness just portrays it with just such wisdom and serenity. And I know Charlie already talked about this, but I just wanted to mention, like, he does such a good job of delivering these lines that, to be honest, are pretty shit in terms of how they're written.
My favorite line he says, which is not supposed to be like a fantastic line, but Han's just like telling how it's like it's foolish or whatever, and he goes, "Who's the real fool? The fool or the one who follows?"
Yeah,
that's like that's one of my favorite lines in that movie for some reason, because it's like sometimes he just like it is like a lot of his lines are very campy and corny, and it's like, but it's so good.
The delivery, it just makes sense. You're like, okay, that's
what a Jedi it's like he speaks in riddles sometimes. Like it's just like
it's what you expect from a wise man, a mentor character.
Yeah. By the way, this is really off topic, but I want to bring it up because I saw it on TikTok and it made me laugh. And it was the theory that he is drunk the entire time. And like the first shot you see of him is he's stumbling around the desert. Yeah. And then he just have like pictures of like him where he looks up and he's like, he looks kind of drunk. He's just like, drunk. Where does he take him? To the bar.
That's true. He's like, we gotta go there because there's a guy and he's gonna help us. I know him. Don't worry.
Yeah. I just saw that theory and that made me laugh. And I was like, I really needed to talk about that.
It's always the stupid Star Wars fan theories that I like the most.
I know. Other than...
All right, Charlie, let's move on. Let's talk about The Empire Strikes Back.
My favorite movie ever.
Yeah, I got some stuff to say about it, but I'm going to talk a lot about Return of the Jedi and A New Hope. So how about you kind of talk about what you like the most about this movie and what just makes it good to you. What makes you enjoy this movie so much?
So for me, I think the main thing that comes across is it is the movie where the heroes lose. It is entirely a part of the story that needs to happen, but it doesn't necessarily end in the most satisfying, gratifying way. Like 4 and 6 both end in basically celebration. It's like, yay, we beat the Death Star, and it was like episode 6 ends, and it's like, all right, we did the Death Star again, and then everyone's celebrating, and then this movie, it's like Han's gone. I've lost my hand. Like we have to work with Lando. Yeah,
Yeah, Lando, but also the emotional turmoil with that twist.
yeah,
Everyone is at their lowest at the end of that. Continue, but
yeah.
I completely
That's
agree
why I
with what you
love
just
it.
said.
Like it's so good, and like you did mention, like him learning about Vader, and then you get the hint that Leia is force sensitive in it, which I love because that like kind of just preludes a bunch of stuff, and it kind of infers onto the next film with them being related. But you can tell that he needs her now more than ever, and they're reaching out through the Force.
Oh, I'm just thinking about that TikTok you sent me.
Oh, the kiss.
Yeah, we should put that TikTok in the show notes.
Oh, I should have, but it's so funny. It's basically all right. I'll just briefly explain the TikTok to everyone, which is a dumb thing to do, but it's the part in episode 6 where Han's talking to Leia, and he's like, "Fine, if you want me gone, I'll be gone. I'll leave you two out of the way." And she goes, "No, it's not like that. He's my brother." And he's like he just makes like a very wide-eyed expression, but then it like freeze frames and zooms in on his face, and it's like, like, do you know what that's even from?
The alarm noise? No, I don't.
Yeah.
The point is he has a flashback to when they're in Hoth and he
They're-
watches
yeah,
brother and sister kiss.
yeah.
And also, she basically says in Return of the Jedi, because they're backtracking a little bit. She's like, "Well, I kind of always knew." It's like,
No,
what?
you did?
What? That doesn't make it better. Nope. Shut the fuck up.
Nope.
We'll get into that.
It leaves more questions than answers, but
Yeah.
we didn't know in episode 5, so it's not a problem for that movie.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
And also, like, the Battle of Hoth is super cool. That's like really our first time seeing a ground battle in Star Wars, and it is basically, it's not even so much of a battle as it's like we just need to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, they're holding them off.
Yeah, it's literally holding the line.
Yeah, and that's what that whole movie feels like. Is like, and it's literally the title. Like, yeah, the Empire's striking back.
They're at disadvantage the whole time.
What? Yeah, exactly. What's the hero's goal in this movie? Survival. That's it.
Yep. Well, and learning from Yoda.
Yeah.
Which is great because then we get Yoda, who's also one of the best characters in Star Wars, or at least most likable.
Yeah, I feel like the more they talk about him, the more they want us to dislike him. Like, they've been trying to establish that a lot, which I don't really like. That was one of my biggest criticisms of the High Republic. It's like, oh yeah, he went off on sabbatical. He just effed off because he didn't feel like it.
Yeah. Well, it's also because they're probably gonna write books about him anyway. So.
Oh yeah, they absolutely are. But
the way they mention him, they always just name drop Yoda, name drop Yoda.
Seriously. Yeah.
And it's like, he's not here, but name drop Yoda. And you're like, well, what's he doing? And I'm like, we'll find out one day.
Right. Yeah, Empire Strikes Back is not my favorite Star Wars film.
Gasp.
It's in there. It's definitely in there, but I just love the original trilogies.
Yeah.
However, this movie does things, man, that no other Star Wars movie does. First of all, going back to Han and Leia, this movie has the tightest written script, the tightest written dialogue in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, the Clone Wars cartoons, literally every Star Wars medium, even the books. This is fantastic dialogue. Han and Leia, it's so fantastic. It's quick, it's witty, it's charming. It builds this tension between them romantically and comedically.
Yeah.
And it never gets resolved. It really never gets resolved, which is perfect because you're always wishing, you're like, oh, I want them to talk just a little bit longer. Seriously.
Yeah.
Better than 99% of rom-coms I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and it kind of like it evokes like the sense that it is like a rom-com at times. Like it's literally just good comedic writing. And like the way they treat C3PO this entire movie is the funniest thing. C3PO has the worst time in this movie.
His life sucks.
Han is like throwing him around. He's covering his mouth, and then he's like, he gets to Bespin, and he's like on Cloud City. He's like, oh, there's another one, and he's like, destroyed rude, and then it gets blasted and torn apart, and Chewbacca finds him, puts his head on backwards, and everything.
Yeah,
like he just has a horrible time. It's like it's his worst time since episode 2 when they put him on a battle droid. Like.
And that was all just slapstick comedy. That's a whole another thing.
Yeah,
I totally agree with your comments on the opening. Like, it's super strong. I mean, you can argue against like, dude, we spent 40 minutes on Hoth, but there's a lot of happening in that 40 minutes, which I can agree. Like, it wasn't what we see in any other Star Wars film where it's like you're bouncing around a lot.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of the nature of the movie. One of the things I want to talk about, I'm a big fan of practical effects. I'm going to get into this. It's one of the reasons I dislike a lot about what they did to A New Hope with the specialized version.
Oh yeah,
Man,
I agree.
Like the Tauntauns and the Wampa, in terms of puppetry, so cool. Looks
They
so
are.
great.
Have you
They didn't need
have you like seen any of like they have like old footage
the
of
behind
like
the scenes.
yeah, where I think one of the shots like, it was snowing so bad they shot from inside like a window on inside of like a hotel, but it was just that unclear that they could like the background was so blurred that they're like we could actually just shoot here because you can't see anything that's near this.
That's so cool. I actually didn't know that. I haven't watched that kind of stuff in a while. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that stuck out because it was just like stupid cold. And they're like, it's a blizzard. It doesn't matter. We need the shot. And we call it a day.
Do you have anything else to talk about Empire Strikes Back?
I mean, I could probably talk all day about it, but
yeah,
like
that's how I feel.
Like even like we get to see bounty hunters for the first time, and you get to see.
True. I didn't talk about that.
And like, I love that they even have like the comment of like the one officer who's like, "We don't need their scum." Like it's like there's just so many good little details. Also, I feel like this movie is
tension.
Yeah, I feel like this movie has like don't get me wrong, it has a lot of growth for Luke in it, just like in terms of his connection with the Force and understanding and interacting with Yoda, going to Dagobah, that whole thing. But what it really feels like that movie is Han's movie, like the entire time. Like
exactly.
Everything is centered around him getting them out of there, him knowing a guy named Lando, who I love, as a character. And like he basically makes a bet and the Empire basically forces Lando's hand against what he wants to do.
Yeah, I like that it's not all about Luke. Like Luke, he's got his own stuff happening in the background.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I dislike about fantasy writing sometimes is when the heroes once perfectly align with the rest of the, I'll call it, adventuring group.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is a movie centered around Han because Luke doesn't have the tools to fix everything. Neither does Leia in this one, which Leia is a very strong character in the first movie. Like Han, sometimes you got to be a scum.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to be tricky and play the game, and that's what he does, and that's what I like the most about it. Because what other character would know how to survive as much as Han Solo?
Exactly. Like he's like, and there's so much good improvisation, and it kind of carries over into episode 6 at the beginning, which we'll talk about later. But you can tell they're good at improvising plans. Like when he sends like Lobot to go rescue them and free them from the stormtroopers, and then he's like, "I've got a plan." But even though he has a plan, like Leia and Chewbacca are very upset.
Yeah, it's never going to be perfect, and that's what I like about Han. He's just like, okay, let's deal with the imperfections. It's not about light and dark. It's about just like, hey, I'm just trying to live it tomorrow. And then the next day, I'll figure that out again. So I like it.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll talk about characters like no one's business if we're to continue. So let's move on to Return of the Jedi, talk about the good things there. To me, I will just come out right and say it. this is my favorite Star Wars movie ever. Um,
One of them.
it's just my favorite, like straight up. First of all, like I said, I think having this be the ending and them using mythic structure, the reason there's another Death Star
Yeah.
is for a reason. Sure, yeah, we've had Death Star, yes, but what about second Death Star? It's done for a reason. It's to mirror Luke's growth. First it was like, oh my gosh, this Death Star, it's gonna destroy us all, and it's gonna be end of all things. They're like, nope, we won in desperation last time. This time we're gonna take the battle to them. It's gonna be
Yeah.
less than an act of desperation and more of like, hey, this is our last chance to strike them where they are and really defeat them. And Luke is inside the Death
Right.
Star for a lot of this film. Um, I really like that touch. I know some people criticize it, but it was really for a
Yeah.
point. Although we should have never had a third Death Star. Looking at you sequels,
Yeah. And
no,
even then, we shouldn't have made every single ship a Death Star.
seriously.
That was
Yeah. Then we got four.
There's basically four of them. I'm like, could you guys come up with a different plan that isn't just destroying planets?
I know. It's like that's half a Star
I
Wars.
don't know.
Films.
Maybe upon the economy, like GameStop or something. I don't know. Like,
oh God, don't even get into this Wall Street bets shit right now.
No, I had to make one joke in it.
I know that's been our last week. Whatever.
It's everyone's last week.
So with Darth Vader in this one, he's at his most menacing in this film.
I agree.
He's on the string. He's strong. He's unmovable until suddenly, after all the seeding, he breaks.
Yeah.
And he is no longer Darth Vader, and he is Anakin again. And that is so impressive to have him be at his strongest and his most sensitive
Right.
in the same film, which is great. I just love the characters in this one. I mean, Jabba's Palace is one of my favorite
Yeah.
intros ever. I mean,
I love that so much. It's better than I remembered it.
Yeah, seriously. That same. When Bib Fortuna meets the droids and is like talking to them, he's so creepy.
Oh my God,
like,
yeah.
He's touching these droids and it makes me uncomfortable. It's just like stroking R2D2. I'm like, I don't like this. Get me out of here. It just sets the perfect tone for Jabba's palace. Everyone's flying.
Also, the fact Bib Fortuna can be Jedi mind tricked is my favorite.
Yeah, because he's so weak.
Yeah.
He's vile. I mean, yeah, Jabba is this like terrible creature, but at least he's smart and he's there for a reason.
Yeah.
Bib Fortuna, he's only there because he kisses people's ass.
Yeah, which makes it all the better when what happens to him. And the end of Mando.
Yeah, that was so cool. I love when they brought him back. Why am I getting work email? Oh my gosh, people. Another thing, Luke feels so badass. I mean, seriously, the whole first act of this movie, he feels like this dark, menacing Jedi, which is what it was supposed to be. Because originally he was written to be essentially it'd end with him being a gray, where he did strike Palpatine down.
Yeah.
That was their plan all along.
And it was called revenge.
Yeah. So, I mean, they changed that because they wanted to sell toys and they didn't want Luke to be the kind of a bad guy at the end, which he never really would have been. He just would have been a gray, which I think is cool and removes some of the complexity, but I get why they did it.
Yeah.
But he wears black the entire film. He's much more serious in this film. The only time he's really like very light side is when he watches Yoda die, and then obviously the ending.
Yeah.
But the thing that sets this movie apart from all others, and let me preface this, I am obsessed with the Anakin redemption arc. I single-handedly think, even though Anakin is so poorly done in the prequels, that it is so impressive. Oh my gosh, I just actually closed my Twitch moderating tab. Pull that back up. So
I agree. I love how it mirrors more than anything, that scene kind of mirrors what happens with Mace Windu. It's like he's reliving the exact same thing. But the difference is that Mace was someone that questioned Anakin, and then Luke is someone that believes in Anakin.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what he needed. There was always, I just find it so powerful. And it's so satisfying that the funeral pyro shot on Endor, you're watching his armor burn. And you're no longer thinking, like, it's Darth Vader's armor, but you're sitting there thinking this is a celebration of the life of this man. Like this is the light side. This is Anakin we're watching have
Yeah.
his funeral, not Darth Vader.
Which I
Darth Vader
also love
died.
that the way that he burns it, it literally mirrors Qui-Gon's, and that's him being
Yeah,
the father that Qui-Gon was basically trying to be.
yeah. I was so happy with them including that in the prequels. But I just going back to the music, I really want to nerd out about John Williams again. It is so worth it to watch Star Wars and just listen to the change in music across characters, most notably Vader. Almost
Right.
every character, every interaction, like major interaction in the movie or theme, I guess, has its own music. So Han and Leia, they have their own love music. It changes when they meet for the first time. It changed into the end when they have their kiss. It's just developing. It's subtly changing. So you always know what's happening. And even if you're just listening, you get the feelings. Darth Vader's theme, his Imperial March, which changes a
Yeah.
lot. In the beginning, it is outstandingly brassy, which means it's just loud in your face. It's very harsh. It's very menacing. But as he becomes more conflicted, John Williams slowly starts incorporating strings
Yeah.
into it. At first, they're very dark and brassy, but that last scene when he dies, it is so impressive. I never saw this until my girlfriend pointed it out to me. His last scene is entirely played on the harp,
Hmm.
and it's very light, it's very gentle. And when he removes the helmet, he's looking on his son for the first time as a father. It's just so soft and emotional and beautiful. Most people don't even know why they're feeling what they're feeling, but it's
Right.
because they paid attention to every detail in this. John Williams made the music about the characters. He didn't
Exactly.
make the music as a response. He made this is how these characters change. Let's change the music with them. And that's why he's a legend. And that's why
Yeah.
Star Wars is so important. That's why the music is so amazing.
Yeah.
It's because it changes with them. Darth Vader is not just, oh, here's Darth Vader's theme, show it every time he changes. No,
Yeah.
there's like 80 of
Yeah.
them.
But it's like, yeah, there's like so many different variations, but like shoot, I'm so bad at musical terms, but like it's like the same format basically every time. Like it's
Yeah, I mean
like
that's essentially
crescendo.
what you're saying.
Like I love the stuff in the prequels, especially in like Clone Wars. Whenever Anakin does something bad, and it's just that light turn to Vader's theme is like so good.
Yeah, it's just an easy way to evoke emotion in a way that your mind doesn't even understand. And that's like why movies and shows are have an advantage over books because you just have that natural ability to utilize music and sound
Right?
design. So I just want to mention that because it's that movie is so evocative. I mean, it's not that's not as evocative as a scene as the swelling
Yeah.
binary sunset. Like that's amazing. Like one of the earliest songs I learned playing piano was binary sunset. It's just stuck in my mind. But oh, Charlie, we've talked a lot of good things.
Yeah.
A lot of the
Oh,
things we
I have
love.
one more thing to say
Oh
about
yeah,
music,
absolutely. Go ahead.
real quick. And it's I feel like it plays more so into Empire more than other movies, but it's really good at deciding when and when not to use music. I feel like whenever you watch like the prequels or the sequels, sometimes it just feels like you can go down the soundtrack list and you're like, this movie was just playing music like almost the entire time.
Yeah, it really was though.
Yeah,
There's
and
like
then
17-minute tracks.
yeah, and then like Empire is like there's just times where it's just Han and Chewbacca yelling at each other, and all you basically hear is like just like people working on ships and like having those like the good environmental sound noises, you know, versus like I don't know, like
No, I get what you're saying. You're basically just trying to say like, hey, sometimes you don't need the music
yeah,
because we get what's going on. But the times when the music are important is when there's no dialogue. It's
exactly,
speaking for the emotion when it doesn't need to.
precisely, nailed it
So,
right on the head.
yep. But yeah, I 100% what you're getting trying to say, and that is one of my biggest gripes about the prequels is the the music is really cool. It's really great, but sometimes it's just not. It doesn't fit.
Yeah,
It's too over the top,
yeah,
and where I think the original trilogy is really reined in. And I didn't even think about that. That's actually a really great point. That we really should have been looking for in the original trilogy. But like, you just learn more when you kind of analyze these
Yeah.
things and think about it that way. So
Well, because it's
it's really cool.
I guess like the soundtracks for these movies are so much shorter, but they feel so more impactful. Like,
Mhm.
I know like the episode, like I know the Phantom Menace, like basically the battle theme, like right when it like from like the first note, like dun 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 dun, but it's
Still
like
fits, yeah.
used all the time in that movie, and then it's
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I hear your
Anyways,
thing. Yeah, let's go on to the bad before we get into the very short. Well, actually, it's not too short for ugly. There's really not that much that's bad. I would say the
yeah,
original trilogy, everything kind of lives on one side of the spectrum or the complete other.
yeah,
So like these are gonna feel kind of nitpicky, but there's really not a lot. And this is just stuff that stood out to me. New Hope. This movie is so parodied. That's the verb of that. There's so many parodies of A New Hope, just because there's some really strange shots in there.
yeah,
Like, why am I watching C-3PO waddle over the dunes of Tatooine for a minute and
yeah.
30 seconds? Like,
It's literally
it's really weird.
the weirdest thing is like that is literally they did this in Uncharted too, where like it seems like he's basically lost, and I get they're trying to get across the point. You're literally out in nowhere, and that's why they zoom out the shot. But it's so weird. And it's like they do that in Uncharted 3, where Drake's just wandering around the desert. I'm like, okay, I get what you're trying to tell me, but this is going on too long.
Yeah, it's just sometimes we don't. There's a lot of extraneous shots
Yeah,
especially in the edited versions. You know, this they're called the specialized versions
yeah.
of Star Wars that we have now. Like that's what you'll get on Disney Plus, which I'll get into in a second because those are my uglies. But oh, that sounds really wrong. Oh, fuck me. uh, I regret living. Anyways, I'm gonna say something controversial here. I don't like Jawas. They're little creepy rat people. They're literally rodents. If you didn't know, look up what a Jawa looks like without a mouth. We don't technically know, but there's like visualizations of it and descriptions in like books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Dude, they're literally just Ewoks on space meth. Like, I don't like them. They don't do anything for me but annoy me. Maybe it's just because I never liked them as a kid. But I get that they're meant to make the world feel alien and strange, and even in Luke's normal world, which it does. It makes it feel strange, but I just don't like them. They're not cute. I don't like their little bouncing musical theme. I just don't like when they're on the screen.
I love Jawas, dude.
Yeah, no, most people do. I just don't like them. So, this one actually probably should be an ugly, but I don't want to hate too much on my girl Carrie Fisher. One of the most annoying things about A New Hope, if you haven't heard this before, go back and watch it. Leia's accent changes from like a British accent to an American accent probably 1,000 times. I don't get it. Like one scene to the next, or literally mid scene, she'll just start talking in a different voice. And I'm like, what are you doing? She'll be
I've never
talking with
realized
Vader,
it.
and yeah, watch it. She'll be talking with Vader, and she's got her like very high, almost British accent. And then she turns to Tarkin. She's like, "You're a terrible person. I hate you. And you're a vile man. I remember when you used to fight for good." Like, you're like, okay, what is happening? Who is this person?
By the way, I love Tarkin. The
Yeah,
way he
Tarkin's great.
talks is so great.
Yeah, menacing old dude actor
Yeah.
makes it.
There's
Makes it.
a guy on TikTok who his his username is Mesa Windu, but
Mhm.
he did this thing where he just started talking like Tarkin for like 2 TikToks or something, and it was the best thing. He's like, why does he just speak? He just sounds like he speaks English better than anyone that's ever lived.
Yeah, seriously though.
He's like,
I think that guy's like
file when ready. Like,
I think he's a Shakespearean actor, so that's why.
that would make sense.
Empire Strikes Back. I'm gonna be honest. I literally have nothing that's quote unquote bad for this. I have some stuff that's ugly.
Yeah.
But I think this movie is the most consistent.
Yeah. The pacing makes it feel like there's no wasted time in the movie. That's like part of it. Like everything that kind of happens with purpose.
It's such a tightly written script.
I think the only thing that's purposeless is literally just C-3PO getting ripped apart. Like that's
a little bit cathartic. Kind of nice. Like not his fault. He's programmed that way, but whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty much like the only thing that I'm like, that didn't really need to happen in that movie. It's kind of funny that it does. Just a bad time for him.
Yeah, poor guy. Let's talk about Return of the Jedi, because I have a couple points for this one, only two. First, I'm gonna give you a quote from my girlfriend. We were watching this last night. Just started this movie. I'm taking notes for really thinking about it.
I just looked at my screen.
She goes, "So, how many bondage fetishes do you think Slave Leia created?" I was like, "Oh God, I don't want to think about that." But seriously though, I literally think this was done as an excuse for producers to get her in a bikini and use her for a bikini in the posters. Yeah, love Carrie Fisher, beautiful woman. Very crazy person, did a lot of drugs, very funny, hilarious. But I mean, she was found wine drunk in a trash can on the set one time. I can't remember what movie that is. I'll have to find that article. But
that sounds funny.
And she was a very free spirit. But man, it just doesn't really serve a purpose, other than it does make Jabba feel very vile, and maybe that was the purpose. But
it feels like the writing purpose, but not the costume designer purpose.
It's like watching a Michael Bay movie. Like, is this woman here for us just to look at? Because she really doesn't serve the plot purpose. Because he's a misogynist, like really bad. But
anyway,
I don't know. I just want.
There's no bras in space, you know.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. This one's another nitpick. There's not enough Chewie. He gets sidelined to Ewoks.
I agree.
Who are creepy, by the way. Again, controversial opinion.
Wicket's the only non-creepy one. I can't explain why. He just is. It's like he's the teddy bear that leads death and destruction, and then all the other ones are literal monsters. They are just tiny, ferocious bears. But Wicket's like, Wicket can have a conversation. He's scared. He's like, don't hurt me.
But he has like a tiny little button nose. He's got cute little eyes, where the other ones still have like big eyes, little eyes. They have human teeth. They have these weird noses. They have really human mouths. It's like Uncanny Valley. It's just like, I don't like looking at this. I feel weird.
Yeah. But Wicket though.
But Wicket is cute.
Wicket's just adorable.
That's our introduction to the Ewoks.
And you're like, they're adorable. And then you're like, I'm looking at the guys that are like, you know, pointing spears at him, and I'm just like, yeah, Han got a rough group. He's screwed.
Yeah, he's just gonna get stabbed. Like,
yeah.
Fuck around and find out, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Shout out to Philly.
Shout out to Philly, man. Jesus. Let's get into the ugly, because there's not that much bad. But I think there is a lot that's ugly. So as a series, kind of Charlie put it up here. Incest.
Yeah.
So
kind of cringe.
Kind of cringe. The worst thing about Star Wars, as we've seen in the original trilogies and we've seen in the sequels, you can't really change a plot that much during production cycle. You can't be like, okay, well, let's just retcon this, or well, it's okay. They kind of knew all along they were brother and sister. Huh? They kissed. It's like, well, it was
multiple times.
It was to get at Han. I'm like, I heard the music. I don't think John Williams knew when he was playing this very light, romantic song. I just don't. It doesn't age well for me. The more I watch it, it's just gross.
I feel like some of them, like the episode 4 kisses, are like, they didn't know. Kiss on the cheek. It's not the weird ones. That it's literally the one at Hoth is the one.
Dude, she got in there like swimwear. I was like, better get out
and then the way that Luke gets back is the funniest thing. Because he's literally and Han's just like upset.
Well, Luke doesn't know. He has no idea. They never see that. Because it would be weird if he was like, I just kissed my sister. Like, oh, he's from Alabama. Sorry, if we have any Alabama viewers, but, whatever.
It's fine, as long as you're not Arkansas.
True. The haircuts didn't age well, but, I mean, that's such a nitpick because it's this one that was produced. I mean, I'm sure everyone's gonna make fun of everyone's little TikTok.
Honestly,
faded
the
undercut.
weirdest ones are literally like episode 4 Leia. Like that's the weirdest one.
Yeah, for real, for real.
Like I don't know,
Which is very iconic.
yeah.
To be fair,
a lot of the side characters are just like yeah, it's a bunch of guys with normal hair, I guess.
yeah.
I'm never like, oh man, Wedge and Biggs look weird. Like,
Yeah, they have normal haircuts.
yeah, and it's like, I don't know. Luke's got his own haircut. Like, I don't know. I'm glad they haven't gone with any really random haircuts in Star Wars. Like,
They've kept it pretty tame.
Yeah, I'm just worried one day there's gonna be like Final Fantasy Cloud hair, and it's just like Chrono from Chrono Trigger, and we're just gonna get some comical anime hair, which I'm like not even fully against. It would be one of those things.
But they're gonna make the Star Wars the anime stuff.
That's true.
For that one film festival project, I'm so excited for that.
That's gonna be like a whole series, isn't it? It's like a mini series or whatever. Because it's just a collection of short stories, basically. I'm interested to see how long those are, but anyway.
Okay, so let's get into my rant, which is basically what this is gonna be. So sorry, Charlie. Dude, I hate the specialized cuts.
No, yeah, they're terrible. They're so short and they load the shots for no reason.
Exactly. I mean, the CGI edits, fuck, they're so stupid. Dude, they replaced quality practical effects, masters of puppetry. They consulted puppet masters to come in and tell them how to do all this, and they had all these prop masters. And they just replaced it with the most dog shit CGI that ages like milk, dude. Sitting on Tatooine dunes.
Well, I'm surprised they haven't just gone back and done it. But I feel like now it would just look so nice that would make the rest of the movie look weird.
And that's the thing, is it's like, oh, you watch that. Like, why do the Tauntauns they don't take you out of it? Because it looks like the rest of the movie. It's like, yeah, this was made a long time ago. Like, not a long time ago, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then then they just have dune backs, and you're just like,
yeah, why did we get? Why do we need to?
The only CGI that like looks decent and good that holds up is just like spaceships in the background and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's
but you're not getting all the detail, so that's why. I mean, the CGI Jabba, I appreciate them taking a cut scene and putting it into the movie, and fixing that because it was a really good scene. Looks like crap. The who shot first edit. Yeah,
so pointless.
No, dude, seriously, watch it. It's incredibly choppy. Watch it slow.
Oh yeah,
it looks awful if you watch it frame by frame, which seems like a nitpick. But when you're gonna go in and you have the ability to edit things and you're releasing it for a DVD version,
you can do a frame by frame. It's like it's like a current year thing. Like you can do this better. And now they're just doing them a clunky thing.
Well, these were made by them. These edits were made in the 2000s. Was it 2000s? Yeah, it was the 2000s.
Yeah, it was depending. Do you know what? I don't know when they put the edits out because I don't know when they stopped doing VHS. But it's either because I don't know if they did it before or after episode 1. But anyway, it's like
pretty sure it's after episode 2. Yeah, because they did the deleted scenes of. Oh, I'm gonna have to get in this one in a second. I'm gonna get so mad. I gotta segment this part because I'm gonna get mad if I start thinking about this. So let's talk about Old Ben. There's a really stupid line in New Hope. He said, "Only Imperial stormtroopers are this precise." What?
They missed everything except for that one time they shot Leia.
The only thing they hit in the movie is Leia and the literal fucking broadside of a sandcrawler. That's like 3 barns.
Didn't they confirm that it was like? Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to think. Like, they say that it's Boba Fett that did it, or no? Boba Fett killed the parents, right? Or
yeah, Boba Fett killed the parents, but he was with them, so it was Boba Fett.
All right.
But yeah, no, Imperial stormtroopers are not that precise.
No.
So out of place, even for the sequels, like. Not the sequels.
I think it was just to make them feel threatening, but yeah, I agree. It's aged terribly.
Yeah, it's just something to shut up.
It's like the government's after you.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
So back to my rant on CGI, Charlie. What the fuck? The establishing shots of Mos Eisley, they look awful edited. They look horrible.
They
We
really
get some
do.
terrible CGI random beasts that we never get explained what they are. They just literally injected new scenes in there of them wrangling this monster. It looks like a brachiosaurus. I'm like, if I want to go see that, I'm gonna just go watch Jurassic Park. So F off. I hate it. It takes away from the immersiveness of that town, which literally the cantina is just all practical effect aliens. Never got changed. Looks
And
awesome.
it's
Feels
literally
alien.
like one of the best shots in all of Star Wars.
It is Star Wars. It is what it should feel like. You get this puppetry, you get practical effects, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh hey, look at this out of place weird CGI. CGI. They CGI'd the Death Star to make it look a little bit better in a few shots. Only a few shots, not all of them. Looks awful. And you know what? If they can CGI anything, they can CGI. Oh, let's put in a Brachiosaurus Jurassic Park looking alien. Where's my medal for Chewie?
Agreed.
Huh?
Oh,
I'm angry. I'm mad now, Charlie.
No medal.
No medal.
Even though he canonically is supposed to get one, there's just no shot of it.
Yeah, which is true. But
But then they try to do the fan service and make the joke at episode 9, but they're just not gonna get into that. Empire Strikes Back is incest again.
Yeah, that was my only thing. But that's more of because my biggest critique on Empire Strikes Back is just plot changes mid-production of a series. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of the kiss of death of Star Wars, like I said before. Again, looking at you, sequel trilogy, still mad.
Yeah.
But whatever. But that's really it. It's a really tight script. This was just kind of the beginning of the end for George Lucas and his creative partner, and this is when they split up and had all those problems.
Yeah.
Really tight written movie though, because I don't really have that much that I dislike in Empire Strikes Back.
The dialogue's realistic. Thank God that Lawrence Kasdan worked on that in 6.
Seriously.
I'm worried of what sort of things we could have heard.
Oh my gosh, I know. Oh my gosh.
From the man that brought you there's so many things I could joke about.
I know. We should just
I hate saying
video about the worst lines in all of Star Wars.
I agree.
That'd be a fun project to work on. But that's another thing for another day. I really don't have much to say, so I'm gonna move on to Return of the Jedi. Although the Cantina band from New Hope is good, I just have a question. Who the fuck decided that it should be called jizz music?
I don't know. Why is it jizz?
What? Just call it space jazz. I don't care.
It could have just, you know what?
You like space jazz? It's a lot better than you like jizz. Like,
there's so many other letters, and you had to just pick the I.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been juzz.
Juzz, Jews.
Okay, fair point.
Call it gub gub. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just anything but jizz. And even worse.
Hell, if I didn't know it was Max Rebo that was a performer, you could have called it Rebo music, and I'd have been like, cool.
Yeah, seriously. And then it's just even made worse by that. Yeah, seriously. Just name it after one of the musicians. And then there's the music number in Jabba's palace that they edited in. Looks awful. It's like they made it for 3D because that one alien's lips. I can't remember her name, but it's just pointing out at you.
Yeah.
Hitting the screen.
Even though that song's a banger, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, but I hate watching it. Especially now that I know it's
deep breath.
Music.
Na, 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 na.
Yeah, but that one guy, the male singer in that looks like a Muppet.
Yeah, he does.
So I'm like, he looks cool.
He looks like he should have been in a pod race. I'm gonna be honest though.
Yeah,
he looks like Ben Quadranero's sort of type beat. Like not the same, but like if you would have put him in, I would have not noticed it was the same guy.
Yeah, they just tossed so many creatures into this movie, and so much weird stuff. It's basically half the decisions George Lucas made on this movie that make it crap. In some scenes, which again, one of my favorite movies. It's my favorite Star Wars movie. So many decisions were just to sell toys. They were just to sell toys. It's why George Lucas' partner left. He literally, one of George Lucas's greatest success is that he says, okay, you can take the money from the production and all this, but I get exclusive rights. I can't remember the percentage, but he made a massive chunk off of toy sales.
Yeah.
And that is why he is rich as hell. Because he went, Star Wars toys, you sell them? I make money.
Also, I can't. I don't know why this needs to be said, but it needs to be said. A Rhodian in a bikini just makes me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I have to
didn't
say
need to
it.
happen. They just
Didn't.
need to stop sexualizing Star Wars characters. It's
I
just
mean,
not
yeah.
what we're coming there for. I mean, obviously, no one's going there like, oh, that's my fetish now. But like, it does establish something. But I was
The
just like, it takes me out of it. It
yeah,
definitely takes me out of the world more than it puts me in it.
but it's
Like it
like,
was. It, sorry, Trey, you can go.
I don't know. It's like the specifically the Rhodian. It's just like this. I don't know. It takes me out of it. The other one is like, I don't know. I can't. I
Well, at least
can't.
like the
I can't
Twi'leks, like
explain it.
I get what
Like,
you're saying. Like at least the Twi'leks, like that is kind of their culture. It's a very gender divided culture,
yeah,
whereas the Rodians are like a warrior culture. So I don't know.
yeah, and it's like I guess the only thing I've ever seen of Rhodians, it's like it's basically Greedo, that other kid I forget from episode 1 because that's,
Yep.
and then like I don't know, like the mom in Clone Wars, and like maybe another Rhodian in Rebels, like
Yeah. That's about it.
yeah, and then there's like I guess there's a Rhodian Jedi they were hunting, but we never saw on screen or whatever.
Nope, never.
But yeah, but like I don't know, it's like you just threw Greedo's head on a bikini, and it's like this is just weird and offsetting, and I don't like this at all.
Oh, seriously. So slapstick in this movie is upsetting. I'm gonna go out and say I'm not a fan of slapstick comedy. So take that as you will. It's one of the reasons the prequels aged really poorly for me, and it's unfortunate. I really liked them when I was a kid, but the Ewoks and their slapstick comedy and all the fights and stuff like it's just so antithetical to the fast-paced wit of dialogue and like
Agreed.
situational comedy that we saw throughout the other two movies. Don't get me wrong, Wicket, adorable, funny, love him. He's charming, but it's all situational. It's like,
Right.
oh, what if there's these like it's really funny from a writer's perspective. You're like, oh yeah, we've got these little teddy bears, and there's these vicious warriors who cannibalize and eat people once they kill them.
Yeah.
Oh, but they're teddy bears on screen. It's like, oh no, these are vicious warriors. But then all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, let's push Chewie to the side. Let's focus. Like, let's get 5 minutes of shots of them just effing up the most elite of my imperial forces. They got beat with sticks.
I love it.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's also stupid.
Yeah. Although I do actually love like the log shot where it crushes the ATST.
Yeah, but that's actually like, hey, why they weren't expecting a guerrilla warfare, which is like what we saw at the beginning. And I get why they fought that way.
I like how they make the X factor because they just didn't even think about Ewoks. Like you can tell they're not even like it seems like it was so sudden that it was nothing they even dealt with before. You know?
Yeah, seriously.
Like they were just kind of like deploy the troops.
There was a little bit of a conflict, but it's like they were such a strong force.
Yeah.
In terms of like they just hid in the trees and did all that stuff. I don't know. Do you have anything else to say before I go on my biggest hatred of anything in Star Wars?
Oh yeah, the well, I'm assuming it's not. But you didn't touch on Boba Fett's death, which is stupid. But yeah.
Yeah, his death is really stupid.
I don't mind that his jetpack even it's just the fact that it was Han blind. He's like, what?
Blind.
Kill someone.
He doesn't get to save himself.
They CGI'd a burp in for some reason for the Sarlacc.
Oh my gosh. Totally forgot about that. And he has a Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, basically.
And then you see Tamara Morrison and you're just like, this guy Wilhelmed? This guy would rip my head off in real life.
Yeah. Or, sing you a great cover of the Beatles song.
Oh god, I love that man. Anyways.
Go on your big rant. Go on your big rant.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hate CGI. We've established that. But you know what I hate more than CGI? Ruining character arcs. Like I said, I like Anakin. More importantly, I like David Prowse. When they did the specialized version of Star Wars, one of the most controversial things they ever did was they took Hayden Christensen, who is a fantastic actor. If you watch him actually do stuff that isn't Star Wars, completely directing, in my opinion. They CGI'd him as a Force Ghost over David Prowse, which is to me the most despicable edit or change in all of Star Wars. I consider it worse than what they did with Palpatine, and I despise that to no
Which
end.
Palpatine thing are you talking about?
Just bringing him back to life and
Oh,
cloning.
okay, that one. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
no,
thought you meant like something in these movies, like when they changed
No.
his original appearance. I was like, what?
No. His original appearance
No,
was
yeah.
fine. I think it was needed. It discredits David Prowse. I mean, his legacy is already shadowed by this edit, and James Earl Jones fame, completely deserved. He's a great voice actor. I mean, he had to be the voice actor. He already is not what you think when you think of Star Wars. Vader. And it just undermines the fact that Anakin Skywalker, although they say it, oh, Anakin Skywalker died. Darth Vader killed him. That Obi-Wan speech where it's like, yeah, he killed him going to the dark side. But the fact of the matter is that Anakin actually never did die. And that is what we see in Return of the Jedi, is Anakin was in there, but he had to be pulled out of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
That light inside of Vader, inside of Anakin, it never died. It was just hidden. And Luke pulled it from him. He didn't plant the seed of the light within him and heal his soul. And I really just find that it lessens the impact of seeing Vader's body burn, and then I turn over and it's young Anakin.
Yeah.
It should be old Anakin. It should be the David Prowse version, the original, which shows a man who his whole life he was lost in this great conflict, and he had this internal struggle dealing with all the trauma he had in his life, and then he dies redeemed.
Yeah.
He dies happy. He dies able to look on
fulfilled,
his son as a manifestation of light, a manifestation of the Force. One, that light that never left his soul, and he stands by his former masters, looking upon his son, who is now carrying forward the legacy of light and the Force. No hate to Hayden Christensen, man, but Star Wars, you need to stop doing it after the fact edits. You need to stop saying, "Oh well, to make what we want to happen, we're just going to tweet about it. We're just going to edit this and release it on Disney Plus." It undermines Anakin. They always, for some reason, release edits that undermine Anakin,
which is really weird. And I feel like, I don't know, you could have easily, I mean, they should have definitely done David Prowse, and it could have been fine. It could have just been him casually. I imagine, if I am a manifestation of the Force, I maybe don't want to have a cut up head. I get that. Like,
yeah,
but making it Anakin beforehand is just kind of confusing.
Yeah, and they showed him in a healed version, like it was just the actor. And by the way, David Prowse was a bodybuilder, which is kind of funny to think about.
Yeah.
That he was the physical portrayal of Darth Vader, and he's just a jacked old man. It's a whole other thing. But I don't know. I really think it undermined that, and it really just does poorly to what Anakin was always about. Which, yeah, he was the chosen one, and he tipped everything in the balance of darkness. But
right.
He also always had that. He's a manifestation of the Force itself. He was born from the Force, maybe the evil side of the Force, but he always has the light within him. I don't know.
Right.
I'm gonna get off my soapbox on that. I really
wanted to rant about that.
Yeah.
It's okay. We all have rants. Although yours are much better than mine. Mine usually consist of like confusion, stupidity, and cursing. You kind of articulated it very well.
Bro, that would be a great name for an autobiography.
What?
What'd you say? Confusion. What'd you say? Shit, now I'm forgetting. Whatever. It was confusion, something, and cursing.
Confusion, yelling, and cursing, or something. I don't know.
Confusion, yelling, and cursing. So yeah, I just in summary, the original trilogy, it's amazing.
It is.
We talked about a lot of really good things. I think it's kind of fun to talk about right now because we're kind of bouncing back and forth into when this canon of Star Wars we're going to be seeing is. Some of it's before the prequels, some of it's right after the original trilogy, some of it's before or during. I just think it's really fun to kind of look back, and Star Wars has just such a history. There's so much content we have. Some things damage its legacy and some things help it, but it's just fun to look back and kind of think about why was this so good?
Right.
And I don't think we covered everything we could have. I don't think will ever really capture the full reason as why Star Wars was able to amass such a following. It was able to bring people in and all the reasons why people love it. But I mean, I think we got across like
Yeah.
some the very high level reasons why we love it. So
Yeah, and I think that is somewhat emblematic of Star Wars as a whole, in that in general, Star Wars is for everyone. Everyone can find their own reasons. The like, there's so much Star Wars to love. It doesn't necessarily matter if something comes out and you like it or dislike it, because we all have our reasons in parts of Star Wars that we do love ourselves.
yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's so many different ways you can talk about it. I think our show does a good job of, like, I feel like we talk about story and how unique it is, and like what goes into it. And I think that's something we do differently. Where some people just, like, like to talk about, like, oh, what Jedi's would win in a fight, what would do this, like, But I feel like with what we're able to do with the show, it just gives us a unique way to basically talk about the show that isn't often expressed, which I really like. So,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Charlie, let's close it out. I'll
all
let you
right,
handle it from here.
sounds good. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you liked it, please share it with your friends and family. Tell them how much you love Star Wars. Show the show some love. Jesus, that's weird. Anyways, uh, for those of you that don't know, we're selling merch on Redbubble. Shout out to T Rex Harris. I'll link his stuff in the below. He just down below. He made our logo, and we threw on some merch over on Redbubble. Even got a mask, got the shirt. So go check it out. Follow us on Twitter at ORR Show. You can tune in to the show live every other Sunday at noon. We'll probably eventually make it weekly once I'm out of school. So, yeah. Take care,
Yeah,
guys.
absolutely. Thanks, guys.